my whole first year, I drove Uber, like, in the evenings and on the weekends to pay for my tools. I don't see any reason why an older person can't get into the trade, as long as you're active and flexible and you're willing to learn. That's the main thing. It's just a whole new world.
Hola, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Reliable HVACR podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed, like, comment. If you're listening to this over on the podcast, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever it is, it's a bit available on all platforms. Please leave us a 5-star review to help us get out to more people. I love doing this because it is good conversations with good people. Anybody is welcome. If you guys ever want to be a guest on this show, if you guys listen or watch any of my content, go ahead and message me. Come on, tell your story. That's what it's about. If there's any sponsors that want to reach out and support the show, go ahead and also reach out to me. My email's posted everywhere. ReliableHVACR956@gmail.com is how you can get a hold of me. Speaking of sponsors, today's episode is brought to you by my favorite CRM, Jobber. If you guys want to use a software that helps us boost our business, whether it's invoicing, quoting, scheduling, keeping track of your team, price lists, our maintenance plan is in there. Now they help you with marketing and running campaigns through emails, all that stuff. And you can talk to your customer through texting in the customer hub. They can request work. You never have to pick up the phone. They can actually request work online through text. You can tell them that you're on the way. All the stuff that you would expect from a professional CRM. If you guys want a free trial and discount, go to getjobber.com/reliable HVACR. Also, VETO Pro Pack, the best tool bags in the game. I know people tell me the first thing is always the price. Let me tell you, other brands that I used to get at the supply house never lasted me. So in that short amount of time, I was buying several of those bags when I could just buy one VETO Pro Pack tool bag. And if you want to go check them out, go to vetopropack.com. You can also get them at any supply house or place that you buy equipment. They usually have VETO Pro Pack, and they just came out with the MB3 Blackout, which I am super excited for because I actually had a hand in some major design in that bag, and I hope to continue to work with that. But I use the MB3 Blackout as my favorite. I also use the Wheelers. I use a lot of their tote bags. I even have something in my van that just holds bottles and miscellaneous things, and it's made by them too. They have a bag for every scenario, so you won't be disappointed. Go check out VETO Pro Pack. And if you go to their website, go to the customer profile. You'll find me in there. You can learn a little bit more about me, and you'll probably see a lot of these YouTubers and people on Instagram that you might watch in that section. And a big thanks to all the sponsors that make this show possible and moving forward. You'll hear more from Local HQ Marketing, NAVIEN, and DIVERSITECH throughout the show. And don't forget that I have another podcast/live stream every Thursday night, the HVAC Nights. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. It's me, Jake, and Curtis. You might know them already. And we just talk shop about our work week and life stuff. It gets crazy. It gets uncensored. It's a fun time. So come check us out live every Thursday on YouTube. And it's available on all podcast platforms later that week. If you ever want to keep up to date with anything that I use, whether it's tool recommendations, Camel City Mill socks have been really great for me, and the Huxley work pants. I have discounts for a lot of these things that I use. You can find them in my website, reliablehvacr.net. So like I said, tool link, recommendations, discounts. I got merch there. You can request stickers. I will have my arm sleeves up for sale soon, so make sure to keep an eye out there. And if you just remember to go to the website, you'll always keep up to date with everything. And really quick, I just want to invite you guys to our Discord. We made an HVAC Nights Discord server. You'll find it in the link below or on reliablehvacr.net, hvacnights.com. You can find it there. I'll leave a link. Everybody is welcome to join. I'm still learning it. If you guys know anything about Discord, help me out. Help me learn. Tell me what to add to it. And we can go from there. So stuff will be added as I figure it out. But like I said, you can talk about your hobbies, sports, shop talk, anything in the HVAC world that you want to discuss or ask a question on, specific troubleshooting or help with things. I want to add like manuals and little codes and tips and tricks and stuff like that. I want all of that in that community. So go check out our Discord, join it today, and let's get some conversations going. On today's episode, we have Jaime Navarro all the way from Hawaii. So that was interesting to plan out and schedule this episode, but obviously we're going to talk about being a woman in the trades and working in Hawaii and all the experiences that she got over there, but also that she is 49 and just got into the trade. She proudly talks about it openly, so it's okay. We went over that in this episode and how it was for her to get into it at a later age, which I get a lot of questions on. Am I too old to get into the trades? We will answer that question for you, and I'm going to let her explain everything, her story and all that stuff, and what it was like for her getting into the trades, and then like what she deals with doing service work on the residential side. And make sure you follow her on TikTok. That's where she posts a majority of her stuff. She's also on Instagram. I'll leave all of that in the description, so you can go check out some of the work that she's done and all the stuff that she's posted, and enjoy the episode. How's everything over there in Hawaii?
It's great. It's warm, sunny, breezy. It's can't
Yeah, because
complain.
when I contacted you and then you said Hawaii time, I was like, oh, I didn't know you were all the way over there. I didn't pay attention, or I didn't pick it up. And then like come to find out you guys have your own time zone and everything.
We do. Out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Yep.
I didn't even think about that. That's something I always have to keep in mind when I have people come on. I'm like, what time zone are you again? Because then we got to schedule this and all that. So right now it's really good. Do you ever get like bad weather in Hawaii, or like
Oh
is it
yeah. It,
always
I mean, it gets really windy.
like windy
And
and
we have like little hot spells, but it's like I know you said it's like over 100 degrees where you are. I think I've heard in your podcasts and stuff.
uh last
Or
year
it can
was
get chilly there.
worse. Last year was worse. It was like over 110, 115 like the whole summer. This
Oh yeah,
year
we
it
have
was an
that.
easy 110, I would consider.
Oh God.
And
Yeah.
but we don't get winter. So like our winter could be like 60 degrees, and that'll be the coldest it gets. I don't know about you guys over there.
Yeah, we if it gets in the 70s, we all have our jackets on. Like we
Yeah,
get
same. Okay, now I can relate to somebody, because then
it's
everybody's
like
like,
flannel
it's like
pajama weather here.
it's 20 degrees, 15 degrees, and some guys even negative. I'm like, no, I can't do that.
Uh-uh. I grew up in St. Louis, so I grew up with winters and everything like that, and I'm nope, no
Oh,
more.
you got away from all that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why people ask me, or when they talk about coming down, they move from up north and they enjoy it. Like I know guys that go down to Florida, to Texas, and they're like, "No, this is way better." Some people can't do with the cold and the snow.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
okay, that was actually gonna be my question. It was like, did you grow up in Hawaii, or did you move there recently?
I moved here in 1996, so almost 30 years ago.
Oh, okay. So you moved there. How old were you when you moved there then?
I was 21 or 22 because I just turned 49.
Yeah, well,
So
I meant to ask you before, but like I saw that you posted all that stuff. So I mean, I guess it's okay to ask about that. But
yeah, for
you
sure.
you moving over there in your 20s, was that something you had in mind? Like, was that a goal of yours? Is there a reason you moved out there?
My mom took me out here for high school graduation and I just immediately like fell in love. I was like, this is where I need to be. So I, saved up for a little while. I did like a little community college
Hmm.
and then I was like, oh, I'm going to go there for like 2 years. And that's turned into almost 30 years. So yeah,
Wow.
I
So
love it.
so that was like you wanted to go out or back out there, and you just decided to up and move over.
Yeah, especially then, like there was a ton of young people here and a ton of jobs in the tourism industry and just a really cool vibe and lifestyle and stuff. So I was like, man, this is where I need to be.
Are you guys like, I don't know, because sometimes I feel like I'm in my own little bubble here where I'm at in Texas, because I'm super far down south. I'm away from all the big cities, even though it's growing a lot like the past couple of years. Are you guys more like isolated, like that vibe that you're talking about? Is it more chill, or how is like the community, the economy, all that over there?
So this island is way more chill. There's actually 5 major islands and or no, 8 major islands. Sorry, we call Vegas the ninth island.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so we're a population of about 200,000 on this island, and then the town that I live in, that I've lived in since 1996, Lahaina, it's a very small town. It's so yeah, very chill vibe, very laid back and relaxed. Like if you go over to Oahu, to Honolulu, there's 1 million people on that island. So that's more like big
Oh.
city life. It's skyscrapers and highways and everything.
Oh,
Like
okay. So there is like a variety depending on where you're at over there.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's like a 30-minute flight. You can go to the city. But
Mm.
on Maui, it is very small town, relaxed, laid back.
Is that what you prefer?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, because
absolutely. I love
I have my, like I said, we live, I don't want to say in the middle of nowhere, but like we're out here. We're not
Mhm.
in San Antonio or any of those big cities. And then I recently moved out with my girlfriend over here. Like we're in like in a ranch style area, so like that's more of my speed. Like I've always been in the city and stuff like that, but I love the calmness and chill and like,
Mhm.
being away from everybody. That's just my personality.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, we don't have like huge properties here or anything. There's only so much space. Like
Oh yeah.
we live in a condo. It's small, but it's just the vibe of the whole town, I guess, more than so much being spread out from your neighbors. It's not quite like that, but it's still.
Do you
And
guys have
then
to
yeah,
worry about like volcanoes and stuff like that?
no, all of our volcanoes are dormant. Like
Okay.
the main volcano on our island, Haleakala, it last or flowed. It didn't even explode. It last flowed like 200 years ago. So you can still go
Mm,
over there and hike, and you can tell the difference between like our side of the island and over there. It's just like they used it like for moonwalk training over there because it's just rocky and barren and stuff. So it's kind of cool.
and did you have to learn? Isn't there like a language there too?
Well, there is a native Hawaiian language, and back in the 1800s when the missionaries came here to like save everybody,
Yeah.
they outlawed Hawaiian language, but it has survived and
Oh,
it's been making like a resurgence. Like there are Hawaiian immersion preschools here, so the kids grow up learning Hawaiian. It's pretty awesome. So there is, but it's a state and everybody speaks English, and
yeah, I got it.
so yeah. But I've learned a lot of Hawaiian words, but in no way am I fluent in Hawaiian.
Fluent.
Not even close.
So, really quick, what kind of work do you do? What part of the trades are you in?
So I am a service tech. So, but I'd say we were mostly residential, but per my service manager, we can fix anything.
Yeah.
So we end up in, light commercial stuff, restaurants, pool heaters, you name it. We'll pretty much go take a look at it.
Have you always been on the service side, or have you done any installs or any other kind of work?
Yeah, so when I first started, I started off in the warehouse, and then we have at the company I'm at now, we have a full sheet metal shop. So I did a little bit in the shop, and then I did install for a total of about 6 months, which I'm really glad I did. There's some guys that are just like thrown right into service,
Oh yeah.
and it's a lot harder that way when
Mm-hmm.
you're just like, what is all this? I can't imagine. So yeah, I did about 6 months of install, and then I've been in my van for just over 3 years.
Okay, that was
And
gonna be one of my questions too. But like, okay, so you kind of got to go around and do a few other things before landing in service. Is service what you wanted to do? Like,
it is,
okay,
it is.
that was what
Yeah.
you preferred to do.
hmm Yeah. When I, first started learning about the trade and started watching YouTube videos and all that, like, just based on the descriptions and stuff and just like what I like to do, I
Yeah,
thought service would be the best. So that was always kind of my goal. Like,
you're
but
always
yeah, I do.
looking for that. This podcast is presented by Local. Local works tirelessly to help HVAC contractors rank higher on Google. They use an attack methodology to make sure that contractors dominate their local service areas and increase their market share and generate higher revenue. Reach out to Local at localhq.com/reliable. Mention me or the Reliable HVACR podcast, and you'll get 2 months of SEO for free. Okay, we can backtrack a little bit. You mentioned you were 49, and
Yes.
you're in what year of your HVAC career?
Third.
So you are
Technically fourth. I guess like October is like my fourth year of being in the industry. So when I started in the warehouse, and then I did some install, and then like I've been in my a service tech for 3 years, 3.5 years at this point. So yeah, so fourth year-ish.
And
So yeah.
so when I had seen that, super interesting, super unique. I actually do get that question a lot, or I did, about like, hey, I'm this age, or I'm this age, and I'm like, they're like, is it too late to get into the trades? Like, what do you think? I'm like, no, it's never too late. So like you being, or getting into it later, what did you do before doing the HVAC trade?
So immediately before this, I was a poolside cocktail waitress. So food and drinks and stuff. So at a big resort. And so that's a super active job. Like I walked, 20 to 30,000 steps a day on a concrete pool deck, carrying huge trays of drinks, carrying bags of food and stuff. So that job was super physical. So going into an equally physical job wasn't a big deal. I can see like if I had been sitting at the desk for like several years and then just, woke up one day, like, I want to be an HVAC. That would be a little more challenging. It's not impossible,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's
Well,
so.
people don't think about that either. Cause like whenever I see somebody, and like you said, you could be like a waitress, or it could be
Mhm.
any other common job,
Delivery
uh,
guys.
delivery people. Oh my God. Like if you really think about it, like the stuff that you guys go through or have to do on a
Mhm.
daily basis, being on your feet all day, walking, the delivery
Lifting.
guys have like the worst conditions as far as like their vans and the weather.
Yeah.
Like those common jobs, like it's very physical and demanding as well.
Hmm.
So then from there, and then what did you do after that?
That I was doing that up until COVID.
So it got
And
shut
so,
down.
yeah, so all the hotels, everybody got laid off. No hotels were open. The whole island was pretty much, just in their houses, just like everybody else. Like they even like closed the beaches. Like you could go jump in the ocean, but you weren't allowed to like sit on the beach. It was crazy.
And
But
that's all there is over there, isn't there?
yeah, it is. Yeah. So um but it was great. I mean, I went swimming with my kids every day. My younger son got really into spearfishing at that time, so I'd go out and put on my mask and snorkel and float alongside of him learning to spearfish. So it was a fun time. But anyway, so just coincidentally, right before COVID, I had seen an ad on, I think, Facebook, and a lot of the big corporations like banks and hotels had put together a grant to get more people on island EPA certified. So at that point, my kids were getting a little older. So I was
Hmm.
like, oh, I'm just going to check that out, see what it's about. I'll just apply. What the heck? So I applied and I got in. It was free. So I was doing that kind of in the evenings up until it got canceled in March of 2020. But I got my
Oh,
EPA. Yeah.
so you're
So,
able to get it. So that
mhm.
ad in Facebook, like, why did you even like get into it? Because like being a waitress and then going to HVAC, that's a completely different world. Like, what
It is.
interested you about it?
Well, I had always wanted, at first I thought, oh, I could get this EPA certification and then they'll hire me in the engineering department at the hotel, like not
Oh,
knowing what
yeah.
what it really was about. Like I was thinking like, because I kind of wanted to get off the pool deck. I wanted to get out of the restaurants. I didn't want to become a restaurant manager necessarily, but I knew that it was time to start doing something else. Like I was just like, I don't want to be waitressing forever. It was
Did you?
great money. Don't get me wrong, but
Oh yeah. I mean, if you're good at your job, I mean, you can make a lot of money
mhm.
doing those kinds of jobs.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
was there any, or did you grow up around the trades at all? Like any of your family, no trades?
I mean, my dad was I guess, it would technically be considered a trade before Photoshop and everything.
Hmm.
He worked in it was like a big light table, and they'd lay out all the print for like any kind of anything printed, like cereal boxes, magazines, school
Okay.
books. So like before Photoshop, somebody did that by hand. So that was his job. So that's, I guess, technically a trade. He was like in a union and everything.
Mm.
Um, but he was just, this Midwestern dad. He took care of everything around the house.
Oh yeah,
So
like
I don't,
he
yeah, we
jack of
had
all
like that.
trade.
Yeah, exactly. We had the Time Life books. Is like all these hardcover books that showed that there was like one on heating and cooling, one on
Mm.
plumbing, one on like built in. So I remember looking through those books all the time. And that was, I think, what he used as a reference. But yeah,
Yeah.
he was handy around the house for sure, but not a tradesman.
Yeah. And that's, I don't know. I just pictured because of that what you described about him, like doing the, I guess like the graphics or whatever it was. I had an uncle that was an architect, and that's what I thought I
Mhm.
wanted to be. So I took one class, and I was like, okay, it's kind of cool, but just never piqued my interest as much as I thought it would. And I had a dad that was an electrician and got into food service, and then needed some help. So that's kind of how I got into it. But it's funny because I never actually thought of it as a career, right? I was like, I got to go to school, I got to do something else, and I just never thought about it. So um, it is kind of cool that you just randomly saw that ad and you're like, hey, I
Yeah.
can do that.
And the timing was like perfect. It would have been really hard to walk away from the pool deck or walk away from the job I was doing and start at the bottom. If,
Yeah,
if there,
that's what people, and I tell them, like, if you get into it, it's like anything else. You start from the bottom, right? Like
yeah,
you can get up pretty
yeah,
quickly, but you have to
yeah.
start there.
You have to prove yourself. Like you think you're going to walk in with your EPA and they're going to be like showering you with money, but that's not, not the case.
That's such a
But
hard thing to explain to people sometimes, but you mean that's how it is. That's how everything works.
because that's kind of what's pushed right now. Oh, you can make great money in the trades, but yeah, you can, but you have to
But
prove your, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And
because
my
like,
whole,
oh,
oh,
go ahead.
sorry. So my whole first year, I drove Uber, like, in the evenings and on the weekends to pay for my tools. Because, with the pay cut and with, like, oh, they gave you a list, like, you've got to have these tools. Like at 3 months, you've got to have these tools. At
Yeah.
6 months, you have these tools. So that was, I was like, how am I going to pay my bills and buy all these hundreds of dollars worth of tools? So, like, my first year, I wasn't on call yet or anything. Obviously, I drove Uber on the side to pay for that.
Today's episode is also brought to you by NAVIEN. If you haven't seen it yet, NAVIEN has entered the HVAC space in a big way with the new NPF hydro furnace. This hydronic forced air furnace delivers industry-leading variable capacity operation from 15 to 100% in both natural and propane configurations. You can learn more at navieninc.com. I also want to thank DIVERSITECH. They simplify your work. They have everything a contractor needs to complete a job. That goes from equipment mounting, condensate, management, tools, maintenance chemicals, electrical components, indoor air quality, and much more. They have different branches under the same umbrella. More than likely, you're already using some of their products or tools. So go check out diversitech.com, and it's your one-stop shop for everything HVAC. You had your job, night job, basically,
Mm-hmm.
trying to keep up and get your stuff. So then,
Yep.
like, when you got your EPA, and then you were trying to look for a job, and then how did that work out for you? Like, did you do any other schooling, or did you just immediately go apply?
Yep. Immediate. Because it was still, this summer I did like the whole stimulus check thing for a little while there in the summer. And like I said, it was going to the beach every day with the kids and doing the whole sourdough bread thing. But yeah, so I started sending out my resume just here and there, and it was all by email. Of course, you couldn't go drop anything off. And I think like a lot of the callbacks I got, because my name does look like a man's name.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
So they call and be like, yeah, this is Jamie. Like, oh.
Mm.
But yeah, somebody, the one company gave me a chance and they started me in the warehouse. And then I went into install with them for a little while, and then it didn't work out over there, but then it was all for the best because I got immediately hired by the company that I'm with now. So yeah, it just I like I said, I went in, I sent out my resume, they called me back, they took me in for an interview, and they said, "Okay, we've got a position in the warehouse." So I was like, "I'll take it."
Did you get comfortable there, like with equipment and parts and that kind of go around?
Exactly. Yeah, so if you get, I would say that if anybody's like they want to get into more of a installer service, the warehouse is a great place to start because yeah, you learn about all the different line set, the fittings, everything like flex duct there. I mean, it's like you just get really knowledgeable on what all that is and what it does. And so that's a really good place to start, I would say.
No, that's great because, and I had another, it was another woman that came on the show, um, Liana. She works in HVAC as well, and she started in the warehouse, and she got very familiar with the parts and all that, and that was an advantage when she went out and actually started doing service, because
Hmm.
she knew her way around all that stuff. And I will say that that is the hardest part of my, like when I started, was not knowing parts, part numbers, the
Yeah.
names, the names of things. I'm like, I need this. It looks like this, and it does this, and I don't know what. And then they would just give you that
Guys are
look.
just like,
They would give me that look, or give me like a
yeah,
little scolding or whatever it was. And I'm like, oh, like, you hang your head and like, okay, I'll be back. I got to go figure it out.
yep.
So that is a good point, because it's a nice advantage that you have, because I
Hmm.
went to school for this. So like the only advantage I had was that I knew the cycle, the components, the superheat,
Hmm.
like the little
Which is
technical things. So was that hard for you to pick up once you actually got in the field? All this other knowledge that you had to learn.
absolutely, yeah. Just learning all that, learning about electricity too. That was, just the high volt, the low voltage, the getting all the troubleshooting and stuff. Yeah, the I mean, you learn a little bit about that in the EPA, and then there's a lot of information out there about it and stuff. But yeah, and I'm still learning. There's still things like it'll be like a light bulb moment, and you'll be like, oh yeah. And then I recently got my NATE certifications too, so that actually doing all that studying and everything really helped me with my understanding of especially the refrigerant cycle. And we have a ton of heat pumps here, but obviously we're not doing a lot of heat. We have a few houses that are up at elevation that use their reversing valves, and then we have a few furnaces on the island too. But overall, it's mostly air conditioning. So yeah, just it was a lot to wrap my head around for
And I can
sure.
kind of I feel the same way, because we do no cooling almost all year round over here. So it's kind
Mhm.
of similar. And it's funny because I talk to a lot of guys up north, and they're all like no heats and heat pumps and furnaces, and I'm like, I hardly ever have to do that.
Yeah.
And they we have them, and I think we have, because I do mostly commercial. I just, not too long ago, like a year ago, came across my first like commercial heat pumps, and it's only one location I think that has like two of them.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, I opened the panel, and I kind of got scared. I'm like, oh, a reversing valve. I was like, I've
Like,
seen I've seen these on the YouTube, and the
yeah, on the
stuff.
diagram, things like, yeah.
I was like, I've never actually worked on one, but thank God it didn't leak. It was something electrical, and I was able to get it going, and I didn't have to worry about it. But at some point, I'm going to have to, get used to them, I guess.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah. I think I heard in one of your podcasts that they're electrifying everything down there, right?
Which is weird because our
Yeah.
grid is the worst. we
Ours is, I
Yeah,
mean, being
any
here
any
on an
wind,
island.
any little wind
Yeah.
or anything, the power goes out. I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't know why they want us to go electric, but they're
Mhm.
incentivizing it. And then I've seen so many electric cars this year now
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
and it's like I don't know
And
where
they're
they're
putting
gonna.
all the charging stations all over the place. Yeah.
Oh yeah, all the
Same.
hotels, all
Mhm.
the a lot of places around here, and I'm like, yeah, I would. I would thought about getting one. I was looking into like a truck, because I just recently bought a truck, and the Ford Lightning
Yeah.
was very nice, right? It looked
Yes.
like just looked like a Ford, but it was electric, and it had the generator that you could power your house with. And like,
Yeah.
I was like, man, that's so intriguing. But I'm like, at that time, our power was going out a lot. And I was like, I don't think I can do it. And I was very
Yeah.
tempted to use it for work too.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh.
It'd
Yeah.
be so nice to
Yeah.
have some power on deck and stuff. And then I
Yeah.
thought about getting a hybrid, and I was like, I don't know. Like, I just went out got a regular truck. We yeah, we deal with that a lot. So I was like, I don't know. So I kind of backed out on that one.
I've seen a lot of those lightnings on the island lately. Last year we had the huge wildfire here. So a lot of, especially this side of the island, was out of power for a while, like a couple weeks. So I think a lot of people, and a lot of the Tesla batteries like wouldn't power and stuff. So I think a lot of people are really
Hmm.
getting into alternate ways of how can I get power when that happens, because it's
Yeah,
crazy.
we're not there yet. It won't be for a long time. So then, okay, okay, how hard was it learning on the job? Like, did it take a while for you to get comfortable? Like, how many
Definitely.
mistakes did you make?
A lot of mistakes, I mean, I remember one week when I first started, I think I blew up like 2 boards in different ways. Like one, it was like a Fujitsu mini split, and like the receiver board is kind of like this, and there's this like secret screw in the back. I dropped it right onto the board, and of course
Oh,
I was just doing a maintenance, and I was like, "Oh, I need to pull the power." But now, of course, now I pull power on every maintenance. So,
see, my dad likes to do everything live, but he used to
uh-huh.
be an electrician, so that's why.
So
And
he's comfortable with it.
he's very comfortable. He's like, why don't you just do this or that? And like, he's like, you're already here. I'm like, no, I need to go find the breaker for this thing because I'm not doing this thing live. And we've had those little arguments. I'm like, I'm not doing it. And every time like in the beginning when I would start and I would get confident and do something, especially because I like doing commercials. Sometimes I've done these little rack refrigeration systems, and they have a bunch
Mhm.
of breakers in line, and you can turn one off and work on it, but like your next one's live. And
Ooh.
I've done that before where my screwdriver slips a little bit and I short out the next one. I'm like, oh, now I got to do more work
Uh-huh.
than I wanted to. And but you learn, right? You learn what to do, what.
You learn the hard way, and then you have to go talk to those owners and like, I'm so sorry, I just blew up your mini split. We're gonna have to order new boards. It's gonna take I don't know how many weeks to get out here. I know. It's like, oh
See,
man,
that's
yeah.
and
So you
I
learn real fast.
yeah, I've worked with my dad, and that was my whole thing is like, I don't know how to talk to customers. Like, I don't know this. I hated, hated doing that part of the job. And then he started, we used to work together, and then he started leaving me on my own, right? And I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. And the best thing you can do is just to be honest with your customers, because once you start piling on one lie, then another lie, and then like, oh,
Yeah,
yeah, it'll, because they hate. It's always those guys that are like, yeah, we're almost done, we're gonna get it fixed, and then they're like
mhm,
scrambling because like they've
yeah,
gone through
exactly,
so many parts.
exactly.
So like I
It's
used
gotta
to
be
get,
this one. It's gotta be this one.
yeah, I used to get so anxious. I'm like, I just tell the customer like, look, we screwed up or we did something. We'll be back. I got to go get some more stuff. And most of the times they are okay with it, and they prefer that you tell them versus like wasting their time or giving them
Mhm,
hope on something.
mhm.
And you just be honest. That's the best thing you can do. Um, and when I started, like I said, I've done that, like knocking up, knocking out something, shorting out something next to what I was working on, miswiring stuff, and then boom,
Oh, yeah.
you pop some stuff, or the board starts smoking. Have all these issues, and but that's how you learn. And when I've talked to other people, it's like, as long as you don't make that same mistake again, right? Like that means you
Keep
learned,
yeah.
and you're a better tech next time. And today's episode is also brought to you by GREE Comfort. I have heard nothing but high regards for GREE themselves. GREE offers not only just ductless mini splits that you might know them for, whether it's single zone or multi-zone. GREE has the GREE Flex and the Multi Pro for whole home and building cooling, so you guys can actually get systems for your house and stuff like that. They always have updated system documentation and live video trainings for contractors. They help you with your installations and make it as seamless as possible. You can follow them on Instagram and YouTube at GREE Comfort, and you'll get access to all their educational video content. I'll leave that linked below.
As far as how I learned on the job, like a lot of it was just like ratatouille. Like my first, it was the operations manager. He's been in the business like 30 years, and he came and started working with us. So my first summer, he was in my Bluetooth all the time, and
Okay.
basically, what does this wire? Where is this wire? Like just walking me through it, like literally, like how Ratatouille, the guy is like in the hat.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's like what it was like. And then the guy that's my service manager now, he came into the position and he pretty much taught me everything I know. Like he's, super knowledgeable, like a walking encyclopedia of HVAC. And so yeah, it's just I try to get as far as I can, and then it's like, oh, better call. Or I'm gonna be here for just hours, just staring at it like ugh. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's
and it's good to have those people because
oh
I've had
yeah.
guys that or even like because I've worked with my uncles and stuff, like they came from other trades and other kind of things, and then like they get into this and they want to do refrigeration, and I've helped them too, but like they'll there's a guy that we always called, right? There was when I
Yeah.
started, there was a refrigeration guy that we used, and he's the one that taught me like all these little tips and tricks, and like
Mhm.
if this you find yourself in this situation, do this or use this. If that
Mhm.
doesn't work and you can't get the part, do this. Like so many little like nuggets that I just like held on to, and I'm like, okay, that has saved me so many times. So it's always good to have somebody you can ask questions on or
Mhm.
about different things, because that's how you learn. I mean, ask questions
Exactly.
and figure it out.
Especially when you haven't been to school, it's just like every problem that presents itself, and then but you learn each time. And then of course there's sometimes like we've got this one tech support guy for the region for like Fujitsu and Bosch and stuff, and I think I've probably called him 10 times, and he's always like, well, did you put it into test mode? No, I promise I'll learn. Like, oh, like, so you just kind of your mind starts racing, and you start like checking everything, and then, oh crap, it's not in test mode. So like stuff like that.
The worst thing about tech support is just the wait. Usually if you
Yeah.
get past that, and the only thing that I had to learn in the beginning was like, they want to know that you checked everything first, that you should,
Yeah.
right? So like
Yeah.
I would call when I started, and I had like PTSD after that. Like, do you have your pressures? Do you have this? Do you have your temperatures? Like, did you do this, and this? I'm like, oh shit, like I didn't do that. And then like, some of them will just hang up on you, and it's like, okay, so
Yeah.
next time I have everything listed, written down, and then I'll call them when I have an issue or I'm stuck. And
And then sometimes once you actually check all those things, you find the problem. Like, oh, okay.
yeah, and sometimes you just like, I've had that thing where I just call somebody, even though I'm like, I should know this. I should know what's wrong with it. I've done this long enough, and I call somebody, and then just talking out loud, you're like, oh crap. You
Yeah.
realize something, and you're like, okay, I got it.
Hmm.
Sometimes you just need that conversation.
Yeah. And for me, like even sometimes like there's always a person that answers the phone for like the big company tech supports. Like getting past that person, convincing them that I'm not a homeowner, that I'm a service technician. Sometimes that's a nightmare in itself. They're just like, are you sure, like you're sure you're service? Yeah, I'm a service tech. Yeah. What company do you work for? It's like, oh man. And then there's the time difference too, because I think anything past
Oh
like noon or two here, it's like, nope, they're gone.
yeah,
So
well, mine's not that bad. Mine's usually like an
mhm,
hour swing, but like I have to remember that too.
yeah,
Like, oh, like I might still be open there, but they're closed.
yeah,
That's
totally.
why, like, I've had some that I've talked to recently that are starting to offer like 24/7 tech support on
Really?
their own equipment, like Navien and some of these other manufacturers. I'm like, that is like awesome to hear, and I hope more do that. At least like, some sort of tech support over the
Yeah.
weekend, or like on those, not, I wouldn't say all night long, but like a couple hours past would help,
Yeah.
or something like that. But yeah.
Mhm.
Um so when you well, I never thought about that. So when you call some of these places, they give you a hard time.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
I wonder how many homeowners they actually do get that call.
And we in Hawaii, I know like licensing and stuff is different everywhere. Like so in our company, like one or two people will hold the contractor's license, and then we all work under their license. So
Yeah.
they've argued with me, are you a licensed contractor? Well, you have to be a licensed contractor. I'm like, well, that's how it works here.
Well,
I
that's
don't
how it
know.
works in most places,
That's
honestly,
what I
because like
thought, but
Texas is the same way. Yeah.
they've totally given me crap before because I don't personally have a contractor's license.
No,
That's
and
weird.
Texas, I mean, every state's different, but like
Yeah.
Texas has that same rule as long as one person has it. Like mine covers all my guys and
Mhm.
anyone that works for us. Um, the only other thing we have here is you should be registered with the state as a technician, and then you can go a step further, but I tell people you don't need to do it, and take a test to be certified to do AC and
Oh.
refrigeration. So like those are like, I tell people if you want to get if you want to get a job easier, maybe get those just
Hmm.
to show, right? You're like, I'm EPA certified, I'm certified by the state, all that kind of stuff. That's what looks good on that. But like for me and my guys, I'm like, we just pay the fee to get registered and that's it. I'm the one that's actually licensed and everybody else is covered. And there's
Hmm.
some states that don't even have licensing.
Right here. Like, I mean, you've got guys in pickup trucks with,
Oh
mini
no,
splits
that
and
still happens here too.
yeah,
Like we have people,
yeah.
and I always talk about this because it's also with anything, any business, any trade, anything in life, it's all about who you know, networking, all that
Hmm.
kind of stuff. So like we have a lot of guys here that work out of, like you said, like pickup trucks and
Hmm.
no name people. They just work for themselves, or they're related to somebody and they do their houses or apartments, whatever it is, and they can still buy refrigerant parts and
Hmm.
all that because they're buddies with the guys at the supply house. So that still happens here.
And then they call us when it's not working right.
Yeah, I get those
Because those
second.
guys don't answer the phone.
Those are the most common ones. I get the call for a second opinion. I'm like, what happened to the last guy? And they either like, oh, they got stuck and they couldn't do it anymore, and you get there and it's like a mess, or they don't come back or answer the phone. I've had
Mhm.
some from upstate, big companies that come down and install things, and
Oh yeah.
one of them was for a buddy of mine because he's a general contractor, and he's like, I can't. They're not answering the phone. I can't get them back down. Like they're not going to come back down here, driving 4 or 5 hours to come and service it. He's like, I need
Hmm.
somebody. I'm like, okay, I'll go look at it. And this is the one that I've talked about so many times because it is the dumbest walk-in cooler and freezer install that I've ever seen. I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, but he scammed you on this one, but we'll make it work. Because
Yeah,
that
man. But once you touch it, it's yours.
they shoved an oversized system in this little box. I'm like, dude, like it's never gonna cool right, but
Mhm.
it'll kind of work. So then, speaking of that, the I guess the issues you've had over the phone, like when you started in your company right now, this is where you're doing service. Like, were they okay, like taking you in and kind of training you up? Like, how'd they treat you when you got in?
I mean, everybody was really nice to my face. I didn't have anybody like, but yeah, and everybody gave me a chance and they were, once I got out there and showed that I was there to work and to learn and, work hard, I think everybody accepted me. It, yeah, there was no issues like that. It was more like in my mind, like, I'd have a bad day or something and be like, and I have to like just kind of like develop like the mantra, like I don't give a F what people think about me. Like, just that I think to myself, oh, this is a joke. What am I doing? This is crazy. But then like, nope, you know what? This is what I want to do. I'm having a good time doing this. I like fixing these things for people. I like it when it works out. And so I don't care what they think. I'm gonna do what I do. But
So
my
no,
company
yeah, no
is
pushback from your company
not from my company.
once you got in there and you kind of started. You do residential, right? So like any issues with homeowners that you've dealt with?
Just kind of little snarky comments to start with, like, oh, a lady, or oh, like, are you sure you know what you're doing? Like stuff
Yeah.
like that. And once I come in and I do know what I'm doing, then they're requesting me all the time and stuff like that. So
Oh,
I do
okay.
get a lot of good shout outs from customers. We have like a little system where if somebody mentions you by name, you get this little, like a gift card kind of points and stuff like that. So that's really cool. So I do get quite a few of those.
I just ask because I've had others come on and, people refuse to let them in to work on their equipment or anything like that.
Mhm.
Just
Nobody's
because,
ever, yeah.
just because they're
It,
women.
uh-huh. It's if they, like I said, snarky comments and stuff like that. And, but it's also one of those things, like if you do mess up, if you don't know what's going on, then it's like, oh, it's because I'm a woman, or because, like, why did you send this lady out here? Like, send me a man that knows what he's doing. So,
Oh man,
you know,
there was one that comes to mind because she fixed something, but something else went wrong. And
oh,
that lady made a comment like, "Oh, I guess women can't do everything," or this and that.
oh,
And then she was so upset, but she went out and got the part she needed, came back, got her going that day, and then she
mhm.
convinced that person, and now they do request them and they get along and everything. So I was like, okay, that's cool. It's just that, yeah, if you mess up or something goes wrong, it's a little, it's like 10 times worse, right? Because
Yes,
then
yes, because
they make those comments.
yeah, if it's a guy, he messed up, he made a mistake. But if it's me, it's because I'm a girl. That's why the problem happened. Or so that's, and I don't want to. I so that's why I always try to definitely do my best and try to make sure I figure it out or know what's going on, just so they can't even, like,
Yeah.
undeniable. Like,
Yeah, you don't give them a reason to say anything bad.
I gotta
Um,
try.
so like when you started getting into the trades and all that, you mentioned that you were looking this up like on YouTube. So you got into like some of those YouTube channels that do HVAC and all that.
Yes,
Is that
Ted
was
Cook.
were you
He was always
binging
one of my favorites.
Ted Cook?
Oh yeah, I love that guy.
Oh, which ones would you watch? Ted Cook and anybody else?
I did watch Curtis a lot. I do. I still watch them all. I liked Curtis a lot. I learned so much from him. Who's the guy, the refrigeration guy, NorCal?
Oh,
With
NorCal. He's a classic.
yeah, yeah, right. He's awesome. Um, I would
Okay.
say those were kind of, and of course Brian Orr. Always, I still listen to every
Yeah.
podcast that comes out on his stuff, and Craig Magliaccio. Yeah,
Everybody struggles.
AC service tech. So all those, like,
Yeah, those
just
and those I'm assuming like you found them and you probably binged their content because that's what I did during
like,
that whole like COVID thing. I just binged a lot of
yep. Yep.
those guys and some
Hmm.
guys that did the kind of work that I do, the kitchen stuff.
Hmm.
And it was great. I mean, I'm so happy that that stuff is out for people to watch and
Yeah.
H and
I mean,
the well, those guys show their work, right? Because they're actually out in the
mhm,
field. But
they
like
do.
you mentioned, HVAC school and AC service tech, that's like that's like better than some of the classrooms you can get into, but it's free online. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, and do it on your own time. That's awesome. Yeah, as long as, and I have like a 45-minute drive to the shop. So if I'm not
Mm.
working on my side of the island, I have tons of time to listen to whatever. So that's always a good learning time for me. So
And Curtis is crazy. He posts every day, and it's always
I know,
something good.
right? Machine. Yeah,
Yeah, he's like
awesome.
he keeps us in line because he's like, guys, you need to post. Come on, and we're like, we can't do what you do, man.
I tried to catch your HVAC nights the other day, but I think I was still working, time difference.
All the
So
time, yeah.
try to, yeah,
I
get
try
on
to
the
do it on their time. Curtis gives us a time
Mhm.
that we can do it. I'm like, okay, cool. And we try to do it well, we do it every week. It's fun.
That's awesome.
So then when you got your own van,
Mhm.
were you comfortable at that point troubleshooting or were
Oh,
you just you just went out for
I
it?
was just thrown into the fire. And I mean, usually, like, so we at our company, we have kind of a green program where they let the new people, like, work in the shop, work in construction, and work in service each for a few weeks, and then we kind of like figure out where they're going to fit best. And we didn't really have that yet when I started. So, like I said, I started in install, and then they, I guess, install was slow, so they asked the service manager at the time if he wanted me. He said yeah, and so he said usually you'd ride with somebody for 12 weeks before you, at least until you get into your van. So I think I rode for like 6 weeks or something because I already had experience. And then,
Mm.
yeah, then I was out there figuring it out. No, I was not comfortable.
Well, we talked about it. Everybody
But
makes mistakes, and I you don't
yeah.
know, because even me going to school, I felt very comfortable, or I thought I felt very comfortable until I actually got out there, and then you're like,
Hmm.
I didn't see this in class, I didn't see this in the
This doesn't
textbook or
look like
anything.
a refrigerant cycle diagram.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, and then you fix, the real world stuff, and everything doesn't go to plan. Everything doesn't go like by the textbook, and you got to figure it out, and you get used to it. And I mean, it probably took me a little bit longer because I don't know, I didn't take it as serious as some people, which I do love seeing now. Like people that get into it now have like they're kind of like hyper focused on it, and they want to
Yes.
get it done quickly, or learn quickly.
Yes.
I was in my early 20s. I was still like thinking my college friends and all this other stuff. So it took me a while to figure it out. I always tell people it took me 6 to 8 years to actually get comfortable.
But I agree. But I mean, if you have the chance to go to trade school, I think it's definitely a plus. But in these young people that are getting, I wish I would have gotten into it. I wish I would have thought about it as an option when I was younger. But whatever. That's the way it is. And honestly, I mean, when my kids were young, I wouldn't have been able to do this job.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah,
we worked on.
I tell people, cuz like if you have the opportunity to do it young, right? Like take
Mm-hmm.
advantage, right? When you don't have a family, you don't have
Yeah.
um a lot of these other adult things to do, right? And your body's much better shape and
Right.
all that, cuz I feel it now. Like I'm getting up
Yeah.
there, but
Oh yeah.
um take advantage if you get into it young, and but it doesn't really matter because I mean, here you are, a
Yeah.
late career switch. I mean, COVID kind of derailed a lot of people's plans,
Yeah.
and you made what you could out of it, and it's great to see. I really was intrigued by your story there on
Thank you.
TikTok over there. Um,
And I think that there's so many opportunities in this industry too. So I was kind of thinking, oh, I might be in the field for 5 years. I mean, at this point, I feel great, and I love being in the field. I love, like I said, going out on an adventure every day. So I'll do it as long as I feel good doing it, but then at that point, I'll know the industry. I'll know I can move into something different, whether it's teaching or whatever. There's all kinds of stuff.
I know my
So.
girlfriend had asked me about that like a couple of years ago, and I was like, oh, I wouldn't teach. I wouldn't be able to. But that was before I had all this content stuff that I make in the podcast. I'm like, okay, now it's a little more
Mhm.
feasible. I think I can get into it. Like I've had people that go, because I went to a, at the time it was a community college. Now it's a full blown college that I did the HVAC school. And I've known guys that graduate and they go right back into it not too long after, and they start teaching because they need teachers. And I'm like,
Mhm.
that's cool. Be I would entertain the idea of doing that because I think it's really cool. And I had the benefit of my teachers being actually in the field. They were guys that were in the field or they owned their own company, and I was like, that's cool because
Mhm.
then we got to
It is.
discuss all their calls and all the stuff that they were doing.
Yeah, on that short class that I did, there was a local guy that's in the field here, and yeah, he like brought in his tubing benders and like brought in like real tools, and we were supposed to do like a hands-on install of a couple Fujitsus. Like we did one like as a group, and we were supposed to do more when the class got cut off. But yeah, so we did have an actual, you know, guy on the island that came and taught us and told us what it's really like.
So I see that you take pride in your van too, right? Like, uh, yes, no.
I try, but man, it's my service manager looks at it and shakes his head. I have a lot of stuff. All my coworkers kind of make fun of me.
Are you like
Like this is
a
like mom's purse. Like it's all just like. But I mean, I do try to get in there and clean it every week, or if not more often. But yeah,
because
it's I will say
you have quite a bit of tools, right? You do collect
I
a lot.
do.
That's a good
Yeah,
problem to have.
yeah.
But I think I've seen some of your videos where you're the one that usually has what you need on your van. Like you keep it in stock, or
Hmm.
you keep it full basically.
Yes, I do.
I used to be I used to be so bad. My van, the way it is now, I you would think I have OCD now, but uh, when I started, my dad would get after me all the time because it was like piled up.
Mhm.
I don't do install. I don't do any or too much of other kinds of work. I'm very, in my own little restaurant repair kind of deal. Like I don't do much of any other kinds of equipment. So a lot of what I have is not, like some people are like, oh, you're missing this or that. I'm like, I don't do that. I don't do installs. I don't do big equipment. I don't do any or any split systems or anything like that. So um, I've been able to keep it neat now because everything has a spot. I like to try and keep
Mhm.
it organized somewhat. Some people might have organized chaos, as like they like to say. Like I'm sure you kind of know where everything is.
Yeah, everything has a spot. It's just a matter of me putting it back into that spot. Doesn't always happen.
Yeah, because I've rode with people, and one of our guys is like that too. Like his, it's just thrown everywhere, right? And then like I hate when he's like, "Can you get me this from my van?" And I go in there, I'm like, I don't know where the hell it is. Like everything's like everywhere. So I was like, I
Yeah.
need you to tell me exactly where it is. Like if you have a little spot for it, I need to know.
On most given days, it's like that. But I do get in. I do have a system, and I'll get back in there and put it all in order. And then like my tool bags too are just a wreck because I have like my maintenance bag and I have my diagnostic bag. And yeah, midweek it's just the everything and everything else. So
I mean, you have those days too, because
oh yeah.
if you can tell when I've had a bad day because my van will be turned upside down.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and we have, we're booked out every day. So we have a certain amount of time for each job. So if things take a turn or whatever and you're running late, you're pushing all your other calls behind. It's just, yeah, throw it in there any kind and go.
And shove
So,
it in, shove it in, get to the next call and worry about it later. You have your own van, so you run your own calls, right? You're alone running these service calls.
yep.
Do you?
If it's like a big coil or something, we'll do two guys or two
Okay.
people. But yeah, I'd say almost all the time we're alone.
I've seen you in the attics and stuff. Like you're okay with maneuvering around all these different attics and tight
Yeah.
spaces.
We don't have basements here.
We don't have those
So
either. That's why I don't
yeah,
do.
so
I
everything,
will not do residential because all we have is attics.
yeah,
So
yeah, it's
it's fun.
I think it is. I mean, of course, it's like one of those things. Like I love my job, but I also like to complain about it a little bit.
Oh,
But
okay. That's how I am too. I tell people like, no, I love it, but I'll complain I'll complain all day about it, but I love it.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So unfortunately, my service manager and my husband here, most of that's like me, like, "Arr, arr." But overall, yeah, I think it's part of the whole adventure. I mean, yeah, some of them are much grosser than others, and if it's and for some reasons in certain areas the attics are super dusty here, so I'll put on my respirator thing or whatever. But yeah, it doesn't bother me. It's I think it's interesting. And I had never gone. We had an attic in our house growing up, and I only went in there like once or twice. And I don't
Yeah.
have a attic in my condo, so but it was all new to me when I started this field. But I think it's fine.
Well, you said your waitress job kind of helped you in the physical part of it, right?
Mhm.
So like, what did
Mhm.
you have any issues like getting up and down the ladders or lifting things or pulling out
No,
these?
I've always, like, lifted weights and worked out. I
Okay.
mean, and in this past summer, I kind of got into golf, so I haven't been on the weights as much as I should be because I was you don't wanna be sore and stiff for golf,
Yeah.
but yeah, and I like doing yoga a lot too, so I try to do that, at least stretch, if not a full, like, yoga YouTube or whatever, so that kinda stuff helps a lot, and yeah, just I like riding. I have a bike. I like to surf when I can. And so I think I've always been really active and
Oh,
tried
okay.
to,
So yeah, you are active. I was gonna ask you about the surfing and all that kind of stuff. So you do have
yeah,
these hobbies that you do.
yeah, I do. Absolutely.
And I
Yeah.
think that's important for everybody because I've been bad about it, but
Hmm.
I've talked about it with different people. Like staying active outside of
Hmm.
work really helps you when you're at
It
work
really
and
does. Yeah.
keeping in shape and stuff like that. Like you don't have to be like the most in shape or bodybuilder type of person, but like just
Yeah.
doing something, being active, like weights or working out, whatever it is that you want to do,
Mhm. Keep
helps.
everything going and keep it all moving. It's like, yeah.
It helps tremendously because I feel so sluggish when I don't do my workouts or anything like that. And I'm like, man, I feel like crap. But like if I can
Mhm.
maintain some sort of activity outside of work, then it makes it go smoother and I feel better and
Mhm.
I don't feel as bad at the end of the day as I would if I didn't do those things.
Mhm. Yeah, and I get out in the ocean and swim a couple times a week. I think that's like one of those like total body things. Yeah, I've got to get a GoPro so I can, because I snorkel when I swim. I just swim with my mask and snorkel and right over the reef. So I've got to start like throwing the GoPro on there and seeing good shots and stuff. So yeah,
So
I
you do the surfing, the snorkeling, all
mhm.
that kind of stuff over there. And you said
Yep.
you're into golf too?
Yeah, my husband's been golfing for about, I don't know, 15, 16 years, and he's pretty good. And then in our company, we've been entering a lot of charity tournaments. That's how, a lot of the people raise funds and stuff here. They'll throw a golf tournament and everybody pays and they make money. So the company started saying, hey, why don't we need people to golf in these tournaments? So I was like, well, I have clubs. I kind of know how to golf. So just this past summer, I've been kind of really practicing and focusing on it. And yeah, it's been a fun, been having really fun times with my coworkers and friends getting out and golfing on the weekends.
So now that you've done it for as long as you have, 3 years, 4 years, what why do you stay why did you stay in the trade? Why do you like doing what you do? Is there anything that is like your favorite part of it, or what keeps you, I don't know, what keeps you intrigued about it?
I love the tools. I love, I love having and buying and figuring out new ways to do things. I think my favorite part is troubleshooting when you can get in there and, it's it's broken, it's doing weird stuff, and you can, especially when I don't have to call anybody or whatever, and you just figure out like you can see like, hey, where this is where it's messing up and this is where I love that. I love the troubleshooting. I love that it's like every day you don't know it's what's going to happen. Like what's is it going to be a great day? Is it going to be a rough day? Um, I know it's not going to be the same. I know that every day is going to be something different. So I would say overall, yeah, the troubleshooting, the adventure aspect of it. And I do like doing the repairs, and I've been getting assigned more and more repairs, which I'm still kind of learning all the steps, like to major repairs like coils and TXVs and stuff like that. Like still learning what I need to have, like how not to end up with half of your truck out of the van at the end of the day, like what to take back and what to keep out. So stuff like that. I like that it's a little bit of like an adrenaline, like, oh, what am
Yeah,
I doing? What do I
figuring
need
it
to do?
out and then
Mhm.
the reward of like getting it fixed.
Yes.
And uh
Yes.
do you do kitchen work too, or any commercial work?
A little bit, yeah. Well, with refrigeration, we get in with a lot of there's a ton of the true R290 refrigerators on island. We've got, several walk-ins that we've installed and service. Um,
So you've done a little bit of that too, not
mhm,
just
mhm.
AC work. So do you have anything, or well, you already told me your favorite part, but like, is there any advice you want to give to anybody that, like the questions that I get, like, is it too late to get into the trades, and what kind of helped you learn it at a later age versus like, somebody that does the whole trade school and everything?
Well, I mean, if I can do it, anybody can do it, I would say, but yeah, as long as you are active, I would say, or you could definitely have a desk job and be active outside of your desk job and still totally survive. I would say just learn and immerse yourself in as much as you can. Like you said, like the YouTube channels, the books. I've got that fat refrigeration technology book. Just and you're not going to be able to absorb everything, but as long as you kind of surround yourself with it and make it part of your life that you're going to be learning. Like you'll never arrive in this industry. There's always going to be something new. There's always something you don't know, always a new problem, always. And then when are faced with problems that you don't know about, that's when you research it. You do more of a deep dive into whatever that issue was. But yeah, I don't see any reason why an older person can't get into the trade as long as you're active and flexible and you're willing to learn. That's the main thing. It's just a whole new world.
Yeah, I think I've the common factor I've seen is like people at whatever age, like if they want to get into this trade, because you made a point earlier about you're always like you're still learning. I'm still learning. I still, do my research and all that. You would have to put in the work after
Hmm.
work, right? Like in
Yeah.
your free time. Uh,
Yes. If you're
maybe
not willing to do that, forget it.
maybe more so at the beginning, but like that's kind of the main factor I've seen with the people that are excelling at what they do. Like there's so many now that like yourself in that third year, they're running their own calls and doing a lot of stuff on their own, and it's cool to see because I did not see that when I started. It was a little of a longer process for
Hmm.
myself, and I felt very at the time very good about myself because I did do the research after work. It's just it took me a little bit longer, but like the more you do that, the better you'll be. And it's easier with YouTube, with
Hmm.
podcasts, like all these resources, and that's where you can learn. And it's not like you don't have to take a class, you don't have to pay for schooling or anything like that. So I think that's a really good way to go about it. And you're living that dream right now of switching over to HVAC now.
I am. I love it.
All right. Well, I don't want to keep you too long. We've been here an hour, and
Are we?
yeah, I told you we can sign
Well,
off.
I got to
And
give a shout out to my husband and my kids and my whole team. So without all of them, I mean, I would not be able to do this. So,
how old are your kids?
16 and 20,
Oh, okay.
the two boys.
What did they think about your career change?
I think it was pretty natural to them because I've always been doing stuff around the house. Like,
Yeah.
I fixed a washing machine during COVID. I do, and I was really into like crafting and stuff before this. Now I don't have time for that, but that's a kind of a similar thing. Like you acquire lots of tools and you learn different processes and learn like the rules. So I think they know that I've always been kind of so, and I'm sure they think my TikTok is super cringy, but whatever. But no, I think they know me and I don't think it was a huge shock or anything to them. So
No, that's awesome. And having a family that supports and helps you on that end um, is a big deal because
oh
I
yeah.
have that now too, and it's great to have that support.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it was nice talking to you, having you here, telling your story, and I appreciate you for doing this.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks. It was easy, much much less scary than I thought it would be.
That's great. I love to hear. Well, I loved hearing about your story and all the good things that you've been able to do, getting over that hump of doing that late switch. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the career.
I will. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for coming out. I appreciate you, and thank you everybody for watching and listening. We'll see you guys next time.